Unbelievable historical events happening simultaneously. Welcome back to Wisdom and Wonders. Today, we are diving into the fascinating world of simultaneous history. Those moments when completely different historical events were happening at the exact same time, often without people realizing it. Some of these events are mind blowing when you realize they coexisted, and it gives you a whole new perspective on the flow of history. The construction of the Eiffel Tower and the Last Samurai. Let's start with an unusual pairing, the Eiffel Tower and the Lost Days of Samurai. The Eiffel Tower began construction in Paris in 1887, a marvel of modern engineering for its time. Meanwhile, in Japan, a whole different kind of transition was underway. The samurai, who had ruled Japan's military and social systems for centuries, were in their final days as Japan entered the Meiji Restoration era. While the Eiffel Tower was being built, Japan was banning the samurai's iconic swords and integrating Western military practices. It's incredible to think that while Parisians were marveling at the new Iron Lady, the era of samurai was ending halfway across the world. So, we have a bridge between two worlds, one symbolizing a modernizing Japan and the other an industrializing Europe. This wasn't just a timeline coincidence, it reflects a shift in global power dynamics as more countries started embracing industry and modernization. Cleopatra and the Great Wall of China. Next up, let's go back in time to Cleopatra and the Great Wall of China. Cleopatra, one of Egypt's most famous pharaohs, was ruling Egypt around 51 BCE. At the same time, on the other side of the world, the Chinese were working on the Great Wall to keep out northern invaders. Imagine Cleopatra meeting with Julius Caesar and Mark Antony while thousands of miles away, ancient Chinese workers were fortifying one of the most recognizable structures in history. Cleopatra's Egypt was an advanced civilization with grand architecture, libraries, and complex society. Meanwhile, the Great Wall was a massive engineering feat, stretching thousands of miles to protect China's northern frontier. These events remind us of the vast and varied ways ancient civilizations shaped their worlds. It's a reminder that human progress and challenges were never isolated. From the deserts of Egypt to the mountains of China, each society was developing its solutions to the issues they faced. Anne Frank and Martin Luther King Jr. Here is one that really puts things into perspective. Anne Frank and Martin Luther King were born in the same year 1929. Anne Frank, who wrote her famous diary while hiding from the Nazis, tragically lost her life in the Holocaust. Meanwhile, Martin Luther King Jr. grew up in the United States and became a powerful voice for civil rights, leading a movement for equality. Imagine if these two had met. One, a young girl hiding from oppression, the other, a young man destined to fight it. Their stories show us that even when worlds seem separated, struggles for justice and human rights have always been universal. Their lives were so different, yet their stories are united by the theme of resilience against oppression. Anne Frank's legacy lives on as a symbol of courage, and Martin Luther King Jr. remains an icon of peaceful resistance. The Pilgrims landing at Plymouth Rock and the reign of the Mughal Empire. Let's go back to 1620, a year that saw two vastly different worlds evolving. In 1620, the Pilgrims landed on Plymouth Rock, marking the start of a major European settlement in North America. Meanwhile, across the world, the Mughal Empire was flourishing in India under Emperor Jahangir. It's fascinating to realize that when colonies in America were just setting foot on new land, India was a cultural and economic powerhouse with monumental architecture, art, and governance. While the Pilgrims were building wooden homes, India was home to grand palaces and mosques. With a thriving trade network linking Asia, Africa, and Europe, the Mughal Empire's influence on art and culture was at its peak, leaving a legacy that still attracts visitors today. This pairing highlights the vast differences in development and cultural sophistication that existed across the globe at the same time. It reminds us that history isn't a straight line. Different regions were thriving in very different ways. The first fax machine on the Oregon Trail. Did you know the fax machine was invented around the same time people were traveling the Oregon Trail? In the 1840s, while Americans were journeying west in covered wagons to settle new lands, the Scottish inventor Alexander Bain created the first facsimile machine. It's hard to imagine that while pioneers were braving dangerous terrains, scientists were laying the groundwork for modern communication technology. Oregon Trail meant weeks, sometimes months of travel through rugged landscapes. Meanwhile, the idea of transmitting images or documents was just being born. It shows that even when people were facing harsh and primitive conditions, technological process was already paving the way for the future. These parallel events demonstrate that progress and innovation often exist alongside struggles and challenges. It's as if while some people were exploring the past, others were already building the future. Oxford University and the Aztec Empire. Here is another surprising overlap. Oxford University in England had already been teaching students for over 2 centuries when the Aztec Empire was at its height. In the early 1500s, while Oxford scholars were debating theology and philosophy, the Aztecs were building massive temples, developing an advanced calendar, and practicing agriculture in Mexico. While students at Oxford were studying in medieval libraries, Aztec society was thriving with bustling markets and intricate social system. When the Spanish arrived in the 16th century, they were amazed at the scale and sophistication of Aztec civilization. Both cultures valued knowledge, but they applied it in totally different ways. One in academic setting and the other in an empire deeply tied to nature, religion and astronomy. Nintendo and Jack the Ripper. Now, for a truly unexpected pairing, the company Nintendo and the infamous serial killer Jack the Ripper. In 1889, Nintendo was founded in Japan as a playing card company. At the same time, across the world in London, Jack the Ripper was terrorizing the streets of Whitechapel. While detectives were trying to catch Jack the Ripper in the foggy streets of Victorian London, Nintendo was producing playing cards, starting what would eventually become one of the biggest gaming empires in the world. These events were on opposite ends of the spectrum. One was about fear and mystery, while the other was simple entertainment business that would become a global phenomenon. Who would have guessed that a company associated with fun and family entertainment began in the same era as one of history's most infamous killers? It's a reminder that history contains all sorts of contrasts. Conclusion: the fascinating overlaps of history. History is full of these incredible overlaps. Moments that seem worlds apart, but were actually unfolding at the same time. These pairings remind us that history isn't isolated. It's a rich, interconnected story where vastly different events, ideas, and cultures coexist and sometimes even influence each other. Thanks for joining us on the journey through the simultaneous moments of history. Which of these overlaps surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the bell icon for more amazing historical insights. Until next time on Wisdom and Wonders, keep exploring the hidden connections of our world.